I'm project manager, capability lead, and squad lead here at BJSS. I hope my intention today is to talk about my experience, my journey through the digital world, places I lived and worked, industry I've been involved, roles I had, and what I like about my work, and also if I'm looking back, what I would change or what I would do. I hope this my talk will give you insight in different roles and different ways how you can actually start your journey, or how you can go through your career. All started with a degree in maths and computing, in computer science. I choose that course because I love the problem solving. I like new gadgets. Also, I didn't like languages. I didn't like history, geography, biology. So that didn't give me quite a lot courses. And also quite good thing about this career, this course, was that it's easy to find jobs, and the pay was quite good. The career in digital allowed me to work and live in different places in the world. So I'm originally from Belgrade, Serbia, where I studied and I got first job. Then my husband got PhD scholarship, so we moved to Australia in Newcastle. And again, because I worked in digital, I wasn't really constrained with where I'm going to live and where to go look for work. So I got a job there. I worked in financial industry in Newcastle. Then my husband got his PhD and was looking for work. As you can see, because he was working at the universities, he was constrained with the places where he can work. So we followed him because that was easier. I could work whenever we decide to move. So we moved to Hobart, Tasmania, which is a beautiful place. And we really loved there to live there. Again, it wasn't a problem to find a job there. After a couple of years in Hobart in Tasmania, we decided that it would be much better if you live in Europe, if you live closer to our family. So we looked at the places and decided that the best place for my husband to work, because he, again, works at university and it's restrained with where he can work, to go to Manchester. And we love Manchester, we love UK, so we stayed here for 22 years. But my career and career in digital actually allowed all that. As I said, you can move, you can live in different countries, but you can work in different industries. So you're not constrained with one institution, one company, one place, or limited number of places. I started work in a research institute. Then when we moved to Australia, I worked in financial institutions. When we came back to the UK, I worked in a company who was supplying software solution for importers and exporters. I worked at universities in education. I worked for the gaming industry, for the travel, and now working here at BJSS in consultancy capacity. Again, career in digital allowed all that. So throughout my career, I worked on all different roles. So I thought it would be useful actually to take you through that journey, to give you some insight that you're not constrained, again, with one job. You don't have to stay in one, that the software development is very connected. All the roles are working together, and there are actually different aspects of the same process. So I started, when I finished university, I started a first job as analyst programmer. That's how they called it at the moment. It's a developer basically, but at the time we did some bit analysis, we talked to the clients, we did deployment. In that capacity, I used all the analytical skills and logical thinking that I learned from the university. It was on a very small scale. We worked on one component of the bigger software for the HEJA of the research institute that I worked at. That department was looking after thousands of people, and all the processes were manual. So we were looking at how to automate that. We talked to the clients, we looked into documents, we needed to translate, digitalize them. We needed to put the codes together and system together to replicate what they're doing in real life. So I went through the whole process from seeing how that's happening now, coding the solution and seeing how that's been used. Then I worked in the other side as a tester to validate the code that's been created. And that was a completely different focus from the work that I've done as analyst programmer. It required attention to details, focusing on edge cases, how the solution can not work, not just how it's working, how it can be broken, what are the patterns that can be different from what you expect. I learned quite a lot in there. Then I saw actually by doing all that I was working in only one small component of the bigger system, and I thought if I get involved in actually building the systems, then I can help how the system works. So that's how I got into system analysis. So that's the next different aspect of the digital. So instead of looking into how you code, how you verify the code, you now are looking into requirements for the solution, thinking how that problems that are presented could be solved, how these components can be created, designing the purpose of the component, the interaction, the size, talking to people who are actually developing it. Experience from being a developer and tester helped quite a lot because I understood how that works inside. So everything is interconnected. It's not that these roles sit on their own. That was all good. I really enjoyed that side of work. But what I found is that we are developing solutions and software based on the requirements, which means on a problem that someone else defined. And I find quite a few times that when we actually presented solution to the client or the users, that wasn't what they expected. So I thought maybe it's good to be involved in a different side of the process to work as a business analyst. So I stepped into that role. And again, that's changed the focus of what I was looking in the solution, in the work. So now I was talking more with clients, with the users. I was getting deeper into what their problem are, what is the source of the issues, how they behave, how they use solutions. The size of the problem grew, so it wasn't just one system we talked about. We looked, there were multiple solutions, there were business processes in there. So it was a bigger picture of what we were working before. This work required quite a lot patience, quite a lot being compassionate, because you're talking to people that might be affected with the change. We, as working in a digital, we bringing change, we're bringing something new to companies. So they might be affected with what you're doing, and you need to be careful how do you're talking to people. So that's again, I was quite happy in there for a few years. And then again, I decided that there is a bigger picture, that we're all working in all our teams and our silos, and that project manager, or there is something in between that actually aligns and links all these teams together. So I quite liked to get into that area. And then I stepped into project management. So in a project management role, I worked with all different teams that I belonged before. Now my role was to align all the work, help them with the problems, resolve quickly what they're coming up to, defining timelines when things need to happen. So they will tell me how, but I need to put all that together to make sure that everything can happen in parallel. There was also another side. You're talking to the user, you're talking to the people who actually have the money for the project. So you need to make sure everything is aligned. This job required a new skill, which is influencing, because you're now juggling interest of different people and different groups, and you need to make sure that they're all aligned. It's very fast-paced, which I quite like, and you have to come up with the solutions very quickly. All these jobs that I found are really, really creative, because you don't, in digital, you don't have pattern to follow. There is no routine, so every problem is new, so you have to come up with a solution, and sometimes go through the different solutions, different ideas, to come up to the something that is suitable. I hope that this gives you an overview what are all different roles and how they interconnect and how fluid they are. So you can choose, you can start anywhere and then go into different areas if you like. What I like about my role is here at BJSS, I'm working as a project manager. So that's what I've just talked about. But also I'm a capability lead and I'm squad lead. So there is another side of the profession. So you can work in professional capacity, managing projects or working with the teams, but also you can use your experience to support other people. So in the capacity of capability lead, I am leading a team of very talented project managers and helping them with their career and with their problems with their projects. As a squad lead, I'm looking after well-being and professional development of a team combined of different capabilities. So I have developers, I have testers, project managers, admin staff, again, using my experience, because I was in all those different roles. I thought I could support them, and that is quite a refreshing side of the work. Throughout the career, so what I really liked about what I've done so far is I enjoy working with people, and the career gave me that chance to talk to different groups of people, with different countries, with different interests. I like solving challenging problems, which is always presented when we're starting something new or when we're going through the work. I like seeing our projects in real life. So when I go out and I see, go to a bank and see the software being used, I can claim that I took part in that. Or seeing the website saying, I designed that, I've been inside that. Also, I like knowing how the company works. So, you hear about all the companies and you just assume they work, but our career actually gives us chance to go behind the scenes and see all the clogs and how that works. I like fast-paced environments. I don't like routine, and I've never been bored. Every project brought some new and some novelty. Also, the teams are conversations with teams are really thought-provoking and allow me to actually grow and develop. If I start all over again, if I look back into my career, I would definitely choose the same degree in the same career. I can't see any reasons, anything else that I would like to do more. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't be such a perfectionist. I thought that I have to do everything right, that I have to do on my own. So there are people that you can ask for help, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually helping you to move forward. Also accept that I'm good as I am. you come with your experience and no one expects anything more. I think we expect more from ourselves. So be more confident with what I know and where I am. As I said, not be a perfectionist, accept the mistakes you make. And it's knowing that it comes natural, that if that happens, you just deal with that, and it's okay. Another thing is I went through quite a lot starting jobs, changing projects, and initially I felt I was a comfortable feeling outsider, because when you start a new job, you're learning everything, and that was a challenge that I need to overcome. But if I knew that that is normal and you accept that, it wouldn't be a challenge, you just get along and solve that. That's all I had for today, and I hope that gives you, as I said, some different perspective of what is possible in the digital career, and I hope that this actually pushed you and nudged you to come and join us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Vesna. That was a super interesting presentation about being a project manager. So next we have Shruti, who is a tester at BJSS. So if you want to share your video on your screen, Shruti, then we'll move on to your presentation. Hey.
Hello. Thanks, Natasha. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'm Shruti. So my career at BJSS is automation test engineer. So hope this presentation gave you some insight about what I do, what I like working in BJSS, and career paths you can choose. So let's go on to the next slide. Yeah, how did I get into tech? So this is quite interesting because it all started when I was about 13 years old. So I was so interested in games and, the old nostalgic computer games. And I always thought about how it was developed and how it all together was put in together and how it interacted. And when you see a PC, you just see a big case, but then I was even interested to see what's inside it. So I think that kind of pushed me into digital world a bit. And out of my interest, I started doing some programming with C. So I started with C when I was about like 15 or 16 years old. But yeah, it was just basic programming skills. I think this was my kind of idea to get into digital world, to know more about how to develop games and to see how we can design games. That's how I just pursued my university degree. That was on computer science and engineering. So we didn't have much options that time, to do any specialized courses as we have now. You can choose a lot of courses now, but then back in the days, I think we just had like computer science, that's it, as a degree. So let's get on to next slide. So the university degree I did was in India, and I was right after completing my degree, I was hired by Dell as a graduate developer. I did go through a couple of months training there on different career paths, like being a tester, being a developer, a project manager, BA, and I had an overall view on how the role actually works. So it kind of gave me a chance to choose what I wanted to do. So as I said, I always wanted to, develop games, and so I just chose a Java developer. So I worked on a couple of projects for different domains like aerospace industry and retail. But then I think at one point we had a testing team who was, kind of needed some support with some testing. So I think my interest started in that tester as a tester when they came up for a help, and I volunteered to help them create test frameworks. So test frameworks are something which are automated frameworks. You know, when you're manually testing a software, you just tend to run scripts or run through the scenarios, testing different scenarios. So, but then automation kind of just click a button and that it does it all in the background. So that's where I started at Dell. After that, I got married and I moved to UK, and my first career in UK was in McCann Manchester. So there I started as a software tester because I love being a tester. I understand the application inside out. It gives me an overall view of how an application works, and the collaboration between the team and client or whatever is very interesting. So whilst at McCann, it's a digital agency. So I started as a software tester and I started supporting a couple of projects at the same time. So it was like websites, it was applications, it was apps on iPad. So I was given like, I think I had about 60 or 70 odd devices to test the apps on. And it was interesting to, you know, work on different devices like iPads, and, you know, I had a BlackBerry as well to test on. So it was nice to, it was a good experience doing that. And I did get a bit of exposure with creative design as well. So creative design means like designing websites or even games and things like that. So McCann did some AdWords as well. So creative design included that. After my career at McCann, I thought like I should be looking for something more because I just wanted to get into a wide domain. So I think BJSS is a consultancy where it gives an opportunity to work on different projects and different tools and new technologies. So I started my career at BJSS as a automation tester, but then I addressed myself just as a tester because I work on automation side and work as a manual tester, performance testers, and you know this gives me a overall view on what testing is. So there's a lot on testing side, which I'll come to on the next slide. But yeah, I've been working on with ITV through BJSS. So it's a nice experience working for ITV because clients are really nice and you get a nice atmosphere. And so they have this media in the background, you know, you get to talk to different people about their career and their interest in technology. So it's been really nice working there as a tester. Let's get on to the next slide. So yeah, coming to day-to-day activities. So why I love being a tester. So in our team, it's we have daily stand-ups that they are like updating what you did yesterday and what you'll be doing today. This is to just make sure that you're not being blocked by anything, or if you need any help, you can just convey in that meeting and say like, okay, I'm just blocked in this thing, and can anybody please help me with that? So our team is so very helpful that they just volunteer like within a second, saying like, oh, I can help you with that. We have got some time. So it's kind of nice to give your update and listen to others' update as well. And so next is like peer review process. So whenever we do testing, like, you know, you find bugs, you get data fixes, developer, you go back to developer, you speak to them, you understand what's required, and it's kind of a review process. You kind of convey what you want, and you get what they can do for you. So, and the next thing is writing automation tests. So that's my that's 60% of my role, what I do every day. So whenever a new functionality is developed that comes to us from a developer, and we kind of pick it up, test it manually to find if there are any bugs or defects in the functionality, and we write automation tests. So I basically work on Java and JavaScript. So we write tests, we kind of push it to the code developer, and then they review it. So the process continues with that. So the next comes running test scripts against software under test. So this is something like we do it every phase. So every day we have set number of test scripts and we run against the software under test. So we have changes every day in the new software. So we kind of run the tests to make sure there are no bugs and the functionality is not being altered. Next comes resource planning. So it's kind of, I'm involved in recruitment as well. So I do some recruitment, meet new people, read a lot of CVs, get to know what people actually want, and do technical interviews as well. So it's kind of nice to see how they have switched their careers as well throughout their experience. And some would have come from a developer background to a tester background, and some are like from testers to developer background. So there's a lot in there. And resource planning in terms of a team as well. So if I need any help or something, we just tell our project manager that we need an extra resource for our team. So that's how we tackle resource planning. And reporting comes next, which is something like when you run test scripts, you kind of report it somewhere, and then at the end of the day or end of the week, you give that update to the whole team saying like, there were so many bugs and we have tackled these many and these are high priority and we need to do this next week or the next day. So this is how my day-to-day activities look like. But apart from these, we have like brew breaks, we have like small chit chats around the team, and it's really nice to see, even though we are a couple of women in the team, but it's really nice to see how supportive everyone are around you, and they understand your day-to-day activities, and we all work around as a team, which is nice to see. So let's get on to the next slide. So yeah, my experience working with BJSS has been very, very positive till there, and obviously in a tech industry, I think we have been evolving every day of how flexible, what kind of benefits they need to provide to an employee. So I think BJSS, in terms of employee benefits, have given wide range of things like well-being, which includes kind of health benefits and insurance and stuff like that, and then finance, like pension and stuff. So, and then family, so flexibility, which is very important for me because I have a little girl, and but around her it's really hard to kind of be focused on one thing. The flexibility is vital for me in this role. And better living as well, professional development. So you can choose any career path you want whilst you're a tester. You can just do a couple of certifications, or you want to be a manager or a squad lead, or you want to just do the recruitment. You can do whatever you want. So professional development is something BJSS encourages a lot as well. So when it comes to social, I love social life at BJSS. We have like town halls, and we have gaming time in the office. So we have like little PlayStation and a breakout area where we just go, and they have like gaming sessions there. And we do have a 3D printer in the office, and we kind of build small things in there. We have those sessions. We do Lego sessions. So social life is really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed it, BJSS. Let's get on to the next slide. So yeah, it's just a basic overview of testing pathway as being a graduate, or when you come on to QA engineer. So you have like technical skills and you have soft skills as well. So you can kind of route yourself up, and you can just go to a specialized position, or if you want to go to a managerial or a management position, you can go on to that as well. So as you can see, specialized positions are something like performance testing, security testing, usability, automation. There's like a couple of others like mobile app testing, websites and things like that. So, or you can choose a developer background as well. And if you think you want to focus on your soft skills, you can be a manager, you can be a sport lead, you can be managing someone or a project and BAs. So I think this is the career path I would like to share with you guys. And next thing is, yeah. So when everybody thinks about future in digital or in digital career, so you just think about like, oh, should I be a developer or a tester or a business analyst, project manager, or DevOps engineer? I would say there's a lot more than that. I think, you know, nowadays artificial intelligence is something you can look at as well if you're really interested. There's a very fine line between all these careers and, you know, other things which I'm going to talk about now. So artificial intelligence I see as a like a really booming and a fast-paced technology going ahead. So you have a robotic process automation, which some of the industries are more involving in their process now. And you have the designer. So somebody asked me, like, I'm good at painting, I'm good at art, you know, drawing. So do you think there's a career for me in digital? And I said, yes, of course, you know, designer, designing a logo, graphic designing a website, understanding people's requirements and putting it in paper, you know, that's a digital tech career as well. So designing is one of the career which I would like to tell. And of course, animation, you know, how can we forget all those animation movies we would watch when we were in our childhood. So you can be an animator, like you can develop games. So you can kind of think out of these. So as I said, as I told earlier, when we were young, we didn't have much options or specialized courses when we wanted to pick up a graduate course. But then I think now you have graduate specialized courses for all these necessary, you know, digital techs, like maybe might be data mining, data engineer, cloud technologies, or robotics, or designing, animation, games, whatever it is. I think there is a career out there for each and everything. Cool. Let's go on to the next slide. So yeah, this is something I wanted to tell everybody, that there's technology used in every domain, like every sector possible. And I think it is kind of gives us a wide choice of which you can choose from. So I think in these, I've just worked on a couple of sectors, but I would love to explore all the sectors so that you get like kind of different flavors through technology. So obviously manufacturing, you know, automotive, we have driverless cars now where technology is included, and pharma, healthcare, you know, high tech technologies, you know, telecom, media, entertainment, where I'm working for ITV now, so through BJSS. So that's one of those. Consumer product, retail, websites, you know, online shopping, public sectors, applying for a driving license or passport or whatever it is. And, you know, for every other domain, you have something to work on. I think let's get on to the next slide. So yeah, career in tech. So as it says, it starts with you. So I think this is one of the fourth industrial revolution, wherein this technology is around us. So within our life, our work, everything, technology is included. So a few things I would like to make a note is, yes, I think it was a bit hard for us to start career in a male-dominated workplace, but I think it's all changing now. I've never seen it in like last 5-6 years. I've never seen myself struggling in a team, you know, kind of, oh, okay, I'm the only woman in the team. No, it's never been like that, because everyone's so helpful. The team structure, the change in the team structure, and the way BJSS recruits people as well. There's I think this is in every company now. They are kind of getting that balance of men and women in the career. So you will make mistakes, you will learn from it, and then obviously at the end of the day probably have to, you know, just ask for help. And everybody in this career is ready to help for that. So yeah, just go on with that. And yeah, I would like to end saying that it starts with you, and hope you all make a wise decision on what career you want to choose. Thank you.
Thanks for that. That was super inspiring. I thought, definitely. So we've got a final speaker who is Eleanor, who's a software engineer. So Eleanor, if you want to share your video, then we'll hear from you as well. Just a reminder, if anyone's watching and you have any questions, you can pop them in the stage chat and we'll take them at the end.
Thanks. So hi, I'm Eleanor. I'm going to talk to you about my job as a software engineer. I'm going to talk a bit about my background, how I got into my current role, and also discuss what I think it actually means to be a software engineer. So I've only been a software engineer for just over a year, so I don't have a long career history yet. So instead, I'm going to talk a bit more about my educational background and why I decided that I wanted to join the industry. So in sixth form, I studied maths, further maths and physics for A-level. I knew that I wanted to go to university, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to study because I just thought that only complete geniuses would be able to study maths. But my maths teacher in school persuaded me that I'd be okay. So I decided that I would apply to study maths with philosophy because I'd always loved asking difficult questions. So I thought it would be fun to try and find out some answers to those questions. Then at university, I became interested in technology, particularly about the future of machine learning and artificial intelligence. So I was always reading papers and articles, listening to podcasts or watching videos about the subject. So in my third year at university, I decided that I wanted to write my philosophy dissertation on whether AI could ever become conscious like us and what ethical implications that would have. So that really got me interested in the subject. Then after my third year, I did a 3-month summer internship at a company which specialized in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this gave me loads of experience in a few different areas of software. So completed a software development project in my first month. And then in my second month, I completed a research project looking into how machine learning algorithms can find patterns in big data sets. And then in my final month, I assisted the testing team and learned all about how to make sure that new features work in the way that they're supposed to. By this point, I'd already decided that I wanted to stay at university for 1 more year to complete a master's degree in maths. So I went back to university. But once I'd completed my internship, I decided that I wanted to develop my technical skills more so that I could explore the subjects that I wanted to more deeply. And I realized that going into software engineering would be a great opportunity to do this, to develop my technical skills while also learning about loads of different areas of technology. And so I applied to BJSS during my master's degree. So what is a software engineer? So while preparing this presentation, my first explanation of my job was that I work in a team of people developing software for a client, but I realized that that isn't really a great description of what I actually do. So I just did what all software engineers do when we're not sure about something, and I Googled it. So Wikipedia's definition of a software engineer is this: a person who applies the principles of software engineering to the design, development, maintenance, testing, and evaluation of computer software. And then it goes on to describe software engineering as the systematic application of engineering approaches to the development of software. So that doesn't really tell us that much, but if we go back to the original definition, then we can have a look at the second half of this sentence, which says that it's about applying the principles of software engineering to design, development, maintenance, testing, and evaluation of computer software. So I decided to go through these words and explain what they've sort of meant for me during my role. So design. As software engineers, we need to understand what we're trying to build before we actually begin developing. So the design and planning stage of the process is probably the most important stage if you want your client to be happy. We spend time discussing new features with the client and with our business analysts and with the rest of the technical team. trying to understand the requirements and work out the best way of creating our solution. Then development. This is probably the thing most people first think of when we're discussing software engineering. And this is the stage where we actually create the new features for the client. Maintaining our software is all about updating and improving our solutions. Most people might have heard of a software bug. Bug fixes are part of the maintenance process, but there's also other reasons to maintain code, such as improving performance, improving the speed for the user, or making sure that our code won't just go out of date one day. Then testing. So this is about making sure that we've produced high quality code, works in the way it's supposed to. The test engineers on the team specialize in that, but all software engineers need to understand the testing process and make sure that the features they develop work properly. And then finally, evaluation. That's all about ensuring that our solutions provide value to the client and also trying to find new ways of doing things so that we can continuously improve on previous solutions. So what prerequisites are there to being a software engineer? Firstly, what might you want to study at university? Well, from my point of view, I think anything. This is something else that I read while scrolling down the software engineering Wikipedia page. So it says half of all practitioners today have degrees in computer science, information systems, or information technology. But then it goes on to say that some practitioners have maths, science, engineering, or technology degrees, and some have philosophy or other non-technical degrees. Now, for me, since my degree didn't involve any computer science or programming modules, one thing that I worried about when I applied to software engineering jobs was that I wouldn't be able to compete with someone who had graduated from a computer science degree. But from my perspective now, since working at BJSS, I've met people from all sorts of backgrounds, and ones that you wouldn't necessarily think would lead into software engineering, such as music or architecture. So in terms of other skills that you might need, I think one to start with is problem solving, as has been mentioned before. If you enjoy working through problems and finding solutions, then that's a really good start. But there's other things that I think are important as well. So communication skills. In a software engineering role, a surprising amount of time is spent talking to people. We need to be able to understand from the client what their requirements for the project are and be able to ask them the right questions. As I discussed earlier, we also spend time designing and planning solutions with the rest of the team before we start coding. And so being able to communicate effectively at that stage is really important. Teamwork. So software engineers usually work in teams. My current project has 21 people from BJSS and also a number of people from the client team. And everyone has a different role to play. So it's important to be able to work, all together and work effectively to be able to get stuff done. Multitasking. So in my day-to-day role, often I'll be working on developing a new feature, and then suddenly an urgent bug will come in and I'll need to start looking into that. And then as soon as I've done that, one of the testers might come to me and ask me to make a change to something that I'd done the day before. So software engineering can be quite fast-paced, and being able to multitask and being able to prioritize your work is really important. Attention to detail. So we need to pay close attention to our clients' requirements to make sure that we build things in the right way. And part of that is thinking of all the possible ways that our code could be used or could go wrong. So often when bugs or other issues are found with our solutions, then after a lot of investigation, it really all boils down to one line of code that was a bit wrong. Leadership qualities. So although not every software engineer wants to be a leader, it's useful to have some of these leadership qualities so that you are able to take the lead on a particular piece of work that maybe you have experience in, or be able to present your solutions to the client. And one skill that I haven't really discussed yet is programming. So I think this is an interesting one because obviously you do need to be able to write code to be a software engineer, but I don't really personally see it as the most important prerequisite, because before I joined BJSS, I had done some coding in my free time, I'd done some personal projects, but I was by no means an expert. And for me, coding is really just a tool that I use to get my job done. Most of my current technical programming knowledge has been learned over the last year at BJSS while working on real life projects. But having said that, it's also a really fun skill to learn. So it's a good one to try out if you think you would be interested in a career in software. So this might be a question you're asking, why should I become a software engineer? So here's some things that I think are great about the job. It's really logical. I've always enjoyed doing logic puzzles when I was younger, and now I get to solve them every day. For me, being a software engineer is basically just doing Sudoku puzzles all day, admittedly sometimes with time pressure, but all while getting paid. So the second thing is about learning. I work in a team of engineers who have lots of experience, so I'm always learning about new technologies and new ways of doing things and solving problems, which keeps things interesting, and it's really good fun. The pay for software engineering is pretty good. Graduate roles especially are well paid compared to other graduate roles in different industries, and it's really good considering that a lot of them don't require specific previous work experience in software. They just need you to have an interest and have the right skills that you can bring to the job. And then once you gain more skills and experience, then there are a lot of progression opportunities and so many areas that you could decide to go into. Fourthly, the industry is quite flexible, I think, compared with other industries. So over the last few months, BJSS have switched to a complete working from home policy, and they've been really understanding and adaptable to the changing circumstances. I never have the same day twice. This means I hardly ever know what I'll be working on each day. That keeps things really interesting. I never dread going to work or anything because I know that I'll enjoy learning something new. And also working in software means that you get to work in multiple industries because software is needed everywhere. So you end up gaining knowledge of many different areas, which is something that I hadn't anticipated. Finally, it's all about solving problems, and it's really rewarding to solve difficult problems every day, especially when it makes a big difference to our team or our client. So just briefly, finally, something about being a woman in software engineering, because as we all know, the gender balance is still tilted towards men, particularly I think in development roles. Most of the statistics that I've seen show that women make up somewhere between 10 to 20% of the workforce, which isn't very much. But let's see if that makes a difference. There's a few reasons why I think that it's a shame that there's still a lack of women in the industry. Firstly, I think every company and every industry probably wants to hire the best people for the job, and I think if more women had a desire to enter the industry, then companies would have more applicants to choose from, and so they'd end up hiring more highly skilled people. There's so many emerging issues in technology, and I really think we need the best people to work on finding solutions to these problems. With women in the workforce, I think we've got a better chance of getting the solutions we need. Secondly, a lot of the skills that women are typically seen to possess are, I think, essential for a job in software. A lot of the skills that I mentioned before, such as communication and teamwork, multitasking, attention to detail, all of those, often they're rightly or wrongly seen to be qualities that women in particular have. If that's true, don't know whether it is, but if that's true, then having more women and more of these skills in the industry would be a really good benefit, I think. And finally, software engineering is a great job, and I think it should be seen as a great option for girls to think about getting into. For all the reasons that I listed earlier about why I like the job, it's a shame that women might not always think about it as an option, and I think that it is a really good opportunity. So, but having said all this, the fact that there aren't as many women as there are men in my workplace doesn't really affect me day to day. At BJSS, along with most other companies these days, everyone is really just valued for the work that they produce, and working in a team where most people are male doesn't really make a difference. Regarding who I work with, the only thing that I care about is being able to work with and learn from really experienced and skilled people who help to solve problems for our client, and I'm really glad to have the opportunity. So that's all from me. Thank you.